But we can work at it. I want to work at this. I mean, whatever we got to do, we got to go to therapy. I'll be more open. I'll share more. I can be better. I mean,
what are you fighting for, right?
I'm pregnant.
Hey guys, and welcome to Little Black Book. You know what time it is. Talking to you guys about Insecure episode 10. This is going to be one of probably 4 videos I'm going to release in the course of the week. So do stick with us. We're going to do some body language and color language information as well in the next few videos. You just like, share, subscribe, click down below for the let's do it again. Guys, if you're new to the channel, then you got to do me a favor, do yourself a favor, like, share, subscribe, click on the bell button for notification of the uploads. And for those of you returnees, you know the model, baby. You got the minerals, you got the minerals. No, we're slightly off, but don't worry about that. We good to go. Alright, so this episode obviously was a finale, and whew, tears running down your face, girl, I got the answer, let me take it away. It was obviously a very emotional episode just because of what was dealt with, and I'm going to really talk some stuff as well about postnatal depression and stuff like that, because I've actually seen it live and seen how it really affects people as well. But overall, great episode. Loved how we got a lot of contrasts. So in the very beginning we saw obviously Issa with Lawrence in an open space, and then we see Molly and Andrew also in an open space, you know, and I really saw that kind of film directing there coming through. But just dealing with Issa and Lawrence, I think it was lovely to see obviously Lawrence come to Issa talking about how he finally got the job, and to see Issa's ecstaticness. You know, when you're in a relationship, you want to be able to have someone that supports you, that roots for you, that wants you to win. Like I'm experiencing that now as I'm in a relationship now, guys. Yes, I'm in a relationship now, guys. You missed the boat. So obviously, and I found that that person supports me in a way that I didn't even realize I desperately needed. You know what I'm saying? I don't need a person to watch every single video. I just need them to support me in a way that uplifts me. And I think when I heard Issa saying like, well done, like, and she hugged him, you know, and just gave him really like, just give him some good vibes and energy, you know, even make a little innuendo there in between it as well. Again, it just showed again this support for the fact that whatever he's doing, she's down for doing it. Do you understand? And then
So, what's the deal? Is distance, is it a deal breaker?
obviously later on the conversation kind of shifts to him having to move and how would it work. And what I love to see was that the tentativeness between the both of them. Nobody's quite sure. Nobody wants to say what they want to say because it's scared of what the other person might say. For instance, he might be scared that if he's saying that he's going to move, whether she wants to be in a relationship or not, scared of rejection. She's also scared that as he moves, like if she says she wants to go with, if she wants to make this work, he might not be on it. So either person's thinking about not being rejected, and this is normal, like human behavior. And so obviously when both of them meet in the middle and she's willing to either move or try to make it work, and she, as she said herself, listen to the positive language. It's only 45-minute plane. Now, I don't care what anyone says. It's 45-minute plane journey, but it's a lot to put into practice. You know what I'm saying? Planes ain't a bus, baby. But she's willing to do the work, okay? And so that's important. So that shows you already the person has your back. The person's wanting you to win. And not only that, they're willing to make it work. You know, and you heard her words, I'm willing to make this work. And actually, for her, there is nothing left here at the moment. At that time, there was nothing left. Molly was on her own business. Everybody else doing their own thing. She's all alone. Only person that's there is her mum. But she don't really talk to her mum every day like kind of that because it's not necessary because that's her mum. So in terms of obviously circular friendship, there was none to be found. And so there's nothing holding her to the point that she even said herself like she might consider even leaving, right? And that's what happens in relationships when, you know, so it's easy to say, oh, people are happy to compromise, but obviously Issa's personality anyway is like almost like happy-go-lucky kind of thing. She's almost got this naive energy about her where she's just happy all the time and just rejoiceful all the time, but there's almost like an innocence and naivety into it. So yeah, it was really interesting, and also interesting the fact that they were both wearing earthly colours. He was wearing a dark maroon red, she was wearing a dark green. But we'll talk about that in another video when we break down the actual colour schemes and stuff. But yeah, it was just interesting to watch the two of them at the very beginning having that conversation, because it was important to discuss obviously where the next step.
Maybe I could.
But you move? What about your work? I mean, your family, your friends.
And and she wants to make this next step, and so does he. So it was good to see that in the beginning. Also, we got to see Molly and Andrew in the next scene where we see them people watching. Now, I don't know if you guys, when you're in a relationship and you people watch, it is hella funny. And so we get to see them obviously pinpointing the fact that, they're watching the guy talking to the girl. And if you notice anything, anybody that they highlighted has specific colors.
Doesn't blink, uses his hands when he talks. That is definitely talking.
Okay. 5 out of 5. But that's not bad. I give you 2 mega clues.
What?
Yeah.
Blue. The guy that they were highlighting was blue, and the girl that I was talking to next to was pastel green, and then the woman that was also in dancing, she was also brown. Very, very important. All these colors make something. The colors that they're giving them is to make sure they stand out, right? But in all sense, obviously, we see the conversation between Molly and Andrew, and what we see is the first kind of sign of dissension in public from Andrew. We normally don't see Andrew as somebody who hopes progress. He normally is a go with the flow. That's why he was wearing grey. He's a go with the flow kind of person. I'll do whatever you want to do. But we see a slight regression in that now. We're seeing a slight turn away from that behaviour. And the reason why we're seeing a turn away from that behaviour is what we see in an argument later on, which is that he's had enough. He's reached a point where he's not seeing the return on his investment. He's not seeing the same effort he's putting in to be accommodating for Molly the same way. And so his feelings and thoughts and ideas are not being taken in the same measure as he feels he's taking her on, right? And that's where the tension normally comes in. I'm not saying that is actually true. I'm saying there is an assumption that is made from his side that is that, look, you're not putting as much effort as I'm doing. You're not being as accommodating. And we do see that in the last few episodes. Beforehand, we saw her, buying Chinese, even though they had agreed on an Indian. Her not coming to the brothers to the basketball game when he asked her to specifically, and she dragged her feet on that. So there's been behaviours of her which have not really shown her wanting to be as accommodating as he is.
3 weavers after this.
Cool.
Come through if you guys can come through.
Okay.
Cool.
You don't want to go?
Even Mexico was a bit of a drag. So I can see where the frustration's coming in. And so obviously, she then obviously then states a compromise, which he agrees to. And he said, okay, Joe, I'm going to do it. Right? So he goes back to his normal position, neutral position of just trying to please and not cause a ruckus in a relationship. We then get on to the next scene where we see Nathan and Issa. And that's really interesting as well, because first of all, I was wondering, Issa, where are you going? But they have a business together. And the question we've got to ask ourselves is this. Would you, if you were a partner, be okay with Issa talking to Molly? Would you as a partner be okay with Issa, your partner, doing business with Nathan, who's her ex? It gets a bit choppy, it gets a bit complicated, it gets a bit, you understand? Bear in mind, obviously, my man was basically cussing your boy not long ago. Is it a sensible move to be doing business together?
Really want to be a good friend to you, but I'm with Lawrence now, so if that's too much.
It's not.
And that's a question we have to really ask ourselves, because obviously we had the contention with Condola and Issa situation where he was dating Condola, but then Condola was friends with Issa, and where Molly's words do come true, that Issa's situations always seem to be a little bit messy, and this is another one. And it's a little bit messy, I think, because of her nature. She tries to forgive and move forward. There's a naivety there, like I keep saying. And so obviously they have a conversation. And look, my man stated, listen, I just wanted to let you know my feelings. Now, when he makes his feelings clear, there is no friendship. When he ratifies his feelings about how he feels towards you, and it's more than a friend, yeah, even though he said he's going to be a friend, he's not a friend. He's a bum waiting to go off. He's a bum waiting to go off. And he's about to be your greatest weakness if you ever continue the relationship with Lawrence. Because once he states that he likes you and you don't shut it down, you've left the door open. Do you understand? Now, call it business if you want to call it business. I call it stupidity. Call it business if you want to call it business. I call it stupidity, because you're saying to yourself, I'm going to keep a ticking time bomb here, and I'm the one that's in control. You don't know when that bomb's going to go off and how.
I just wanted to be honest about how I felt.
And the last thing I want to do is make your life more complicated.
It's gonna go off in your face. Not only that, we then obviously she states to him and says, obviously, look, you know what? I am dating, Lawrence. Is that gonna be a problem? And he says, no, that's not a problem. Like, girls sometimes be telling us girls be like trying to keep people as their friends when they blatantly know it's gonna be a problem. Like, this guy, I know that he's cool. I know he's a cool cat, but your friendship ain't a friendship, darling, because he feels a certain way, right? So I don't want to say that. I mean, I don't know how you feel about that. Let us know down below. Comment down below. What do you think? Can you be friends in this situation? Let us know your thoughts. And then obviously we get the next scene where we see Andrew and Molly enter into the house and there's an argument that ensues. Now, what's really interesting about their argument is the fact that this has been brewing. And Andrew obviously finally lets go by saying something really sly underneath the breath kind of clutch thing, or we'll work on your time then. And the reason why he says those things is because obviously we have seen that obviously he's been accommodating of her time. Now we get the same kind of conversation in the very first, very early episodes where he's talking to her saying, listen, you're working late, you're not really working on a schedule where we're both working on.
If it was me who wanted to stay out longer today, it would have been a whole thing.
You're working on your own schedule. And we see this later on in another episode where she overworks herself and ends up working till 1 a.m. and then goes into the bed when he's asleep. So everything seems to work on her timing. So his thing is not necessarily wrong. That's how he feels. Yeah? And so that feeling now begins to boil over with the fact that the brother situation, her not coming, not being accommodating, then the Issa situation at the home. There's a lot of things that were just accumulating, yeah? And so now he feels the way he feels, right? Stating how he feels. Molly doesn't really understand. She's obviously trying to understand his viewpoint, or he says that she's not trying to understand his viewpoint, that she's trying to shut it down. I wasn't sure if she was trying to shut it down. I think she was giving an excuse, but I'm not sure about shutting it down. But I do understand the sentiment, because if you feel like your concerns are not being taken on board, but they're being counteracted every single time, you may feel like your thing is not being taken on board.
See, look, every time I mention something that bothers me, you just dismiss it. But I'm supposed to bend over backwards when it's about you.
And so that makes a lot of sense as well. And then we see, obviously, that obviously she gets a call and then she goes to meet Kelly. And I think this is really where it gets really interesting. So obviously when she leaves to go and see Kelly, she changes attire, which is very, very done on purpose, because Issa doesn't change attire. Issa's in green, militant green. And Molly does change from red to grey. This is very important. Everybody in that scene is wearing a pastel or dull colour, right? Including Derek himself, right? It's not meant to be a hype moment. It's meant to be a somber moment. So we're wearing a jean jacket blue. We're wearing a militant green. We're wearing a grey. We're wearing a pastel orangey red on top of white. Like, everything's meant to be downplayed. It's not meant to be hype, because the scene is not meant to show us a hypeness. It's a very emotional scene where we're not seeing all the emotions, but we are seeing frustration, we're seeing pain, we're seeing people trying to find Tiffany, all right? And so when they eventually get to, and it's funny because obviously in between that scene we get parts of Issa and Molly, and where there was a scene between Molly and Issa where, I think Issa wanted Molly to kind of, I guess, patch things up a little bit, because there's something happening here that's bigger than us, let's patch things up, kind of thing, yeah? And then obviously when Molly says, obviously I'm going to go, like, let's split, it indicates again, let's split, as in me and you again, we're not going to see eye to eye. So although it was about the situation with Tiffany, it played itself into an emotional situation between between Issa and Molly. And so I understand where Molly's coming from, and I understand where Issa's coming from. Blood, we're gonna cover more ground. This is not a time to kind of feel in your emotions. And then kind of Issa, the way she leaves it, like, she gets stressed about the situation, the way she walks away, it's like, Issa, like, you were kind of reading a bit too much into the situation. I'm not sure that's what Molly was trying to per se. I think she was really genuinely saying we can cover more ground, which we could. But then obviously later on as well, we see that Issa again throws a little dime in the dirt. She drops a little bar at Molly by saying,
Yeah, we ended up going to a different Guisados every day. You made me order 5 quesadillas for the table, even though you were the table.
We ordered for 5 at the table, but you were the table. That shot was mad. And it's interesting that Molly didn't say anything. Why? Because she was not wearing her red anymore. She's wearing her grey. Grey's neutral. Grey's calm. Grey's unresponsive. It's not out there. Yeah, it's chill vibes. You understand? So instantly when that word was said by Issa, it didn't hit Molly like it did when Andrew said something to her when she was in the bedroom. Right? I'm just saying, deep these things. And then obviously we see after that they actually find where Tiffany is. And it's an emotional scene where we see Tiffany hugging her husband Derek. Let me tell you something about postnatal depression. Having seen it myself in my mum, I was just literally messaging my girlfriend and I was saying like, I think it scarred me for life. Like, I think first time I saw, like, my mum literally disappeared because of the postnatal depression. And when you're like 10 or 11, and you know, you do anything to try and, I guess, respond to the pain or the fear. And I remember the first time I heard that my mum had disappeared, and I was like, what's going on? Like, blah, blah, blah. I'm seeing my dad emotional, do you know what I mean? Like, this is a very serious case. My dad don't cry for nothing, you know? My dad don't get sad for nothing, blood. So to see a grown man sitting on the stairs, head in hands, crying, when you've never seen him cry before, you know it's serious. I remember even I started to cry, and I tried to give him a hug or whatever. I couldn't even really do it because I was just so emotional. So I know that postnatal depression, listen, when it grabs the individual, I saw a similarity here where the person runs off. They detach themselves from the reality of the life that they're living, and they have to flee, they have to get out of there, right? And so I know that it's not so simple, and I love the way that they portrayed it here because, you know, Derek was just trying to really understand what's going on. And as I can't imagine as a husband how that must feel. I can only imagine as a son, but I can't imagine as a husband. How does it feel to know that your wife is not happy? And necessarily, it's not even him that's done anything, you know. It's not him. It's not him that's done anything. There's no direct correlation of his particular behavior towards her. It's just the fact that she is postnatally depressed. You understand? And this is crazy, right? And this is where life really can hit you hard, where you think to yourself, everything's hunky and dory, and then suddenly this, bam, out of nowhere. You know? So it really was an emotional scene. And I get it. It's hard. And I think, like I said, watching it from a son perspective, I think it just brought back some memories that, you know what, you know, I gotta be more understanding of my parents, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not always seeing, I see things in a very black and white things, and I could be very unemotional at points when it comes to my parents, and unresponsive. And I realized that obviously because of that pain of seeing that on more than one occasion, I just wanted to disassociate. I didn't want to feel that pain. I didn't want to know that's what's going on. I didn't want to see it. I just didn't want to deal with it. You know what I mean? So I know it must have been painful for Derek in that scene to see his wife in a hotel and you don't know why she's there. And then we get Andrew and Molly, who have their conversation. And I think what's really interesting about it is the fact that Molly tries to hold on to the relationship. She can sense it slipping away from her. You know, she's trying. You can hear her several times saying, you know, speaking really quickly to try and say, listen, hey, look, I will change. I will do this. I will do that. You know, let's fight for this, you know. And you can hear the fight for Molly. She wants to make this work. This is the longest she's been in a relationship, it seems like, right? And so she's really trying to fight tooth and nail for it because she realizes that we're coming towards, although we gone to the end of the road, still I can't let go. It's unnatural. You belong to me. I belong to you. And so you know that obviously with Andrew, with Molly, the way that Andrew said, obviously, I've been feeling this way for a very long time. This is not new. Andrew's been feeling this for a little time now. And I think that shocked Molly in a way that she never was ready for. And the reason why is because it's like, things can look normal and you may feel like you're okay, but you don't know how that person's feeling. You know, the person's been feeling like they've been brewing in their annoyance and they're feeling frustration for a little while. And it's almost like, how did I miss all the signs? But, you know, with Molly, she tries to fight for the situation because, hey, you know what? I know I ain't been this far in a relationship, so let's work on this. But Andrew has made his mind up. In fact, he made his mind up before that moment. Yes, you're right. Even on the couch earlier on, I could see that he made his mind up because the way he was acting was completely different to what he was acting by. And this is also was shown in the earlier episodes when you know, they were sitting on the couch and he was saying to her like, you know, maybe our schedules just don't work.
So sad.
Yeah, but it's not just about my brother. I've been feeling this way for a while now.
Maybe our schedules just don't work, and he was just not on it anymore. It looked like he was no longer on it. I think from that moment that he already started moving on and moving forward and started thinking about how he's going to move on past Molly. But I guess he was trying to give her more chances to see, would she change? Would she change? Would she change? Unfortunately, she didn't change the way that he wanted, and it looks like we're here at this moment and conjuncture. So I think it was really interesting to watch the relationship stuff. I think it was interesting to see how people got on. Oh. And then obviously there was a scene with Issa and Lawrence. You know what? Happiness just doesn't last long for Issa, does it? Or Molly. So to see obviously two scenes where Andrew breaks up with his missus. Lawrence now has got a baby situation, which obviously, you know what, is I understand Issa's position, which is that, you know what, I wanted to do this with you first. I wanted to be in a relationship with you. I wanted to love you and us move forward in this dimension. And you've gone and had a baby now. You've wrecked it, brother. You know, and you see her at the end hugging her knees, almost like a child does, right? Because I told you about the naivety. And she's hugging herself and she's just emotional. And you don't see to look as well. I'm not saying it's a setup, but what I'm saying is that obviously it might have felt like that. The way they positioned it, it looked like that. And you know, she was wearing all white as well, trying to play all that innocence. But she came with some very devilish news, unfortunately, that she's pregnant. You know what I mean? And you see, obviously, you know, Lawrence, man's distraught, blood. Because obviously, man's just started getting on the ladder with the work. It's picking up. Now, obviously, with Issa, it's picking up. Everything was going sweet. And then suddenly, a mistake that you've made in the past catches up with your legs. Painful. You know, and as she said herself, she wasn't ready at Robert's time, but she's ready now. And regardless of what you say, she's going to have this baby. And that's why I felt like it sounded like a setup. Like, there was no conversation. It's her body, though. She can do what she wants. You know? And the moment you entered into her, you gave over your power. The moment you bust inside of her, you know, that was it. And I don't get it. So, fam, if you were careful, blood, you know when you bust inside or when you didn't bust inside. You know when you come.
No, but I thought we were careful.
Me too.
You know what I'm saying? You knew that, you know, something came out. Like, how you know what I'm saying? You know you didn't pull out. You know. We all do. So how are you surprised that she got pregnant? You understand? How are you surprised that she got pregnant, my guy? Like, you feel me? Anyway, and then obviously the end scene, we see Issa and Molly match up. I think with Molly and obviously Issa, the ending isn't sweet. It's not beautiful, but it is an ending where they both come together. And it's just sad because obviously it's like two black women again, unable to have a great relationship, hold down or whatever. But you know, time and season. But it just felt like, again, like black women can't have this great ending. I'm not cussing the writers, by the way. It's a great season, absolutely amazing. Just saying, obviously, in terms of life, sometimes we see that same story where black women just can't seem to be held down by a black brother. There's always something that's affecting. So, well, Angie's not a black brother, but the black woman anyway. So yeah, guys, you know, I enjoyed this season. I think it was really well done. Shout out to Issa Rae as well. Guys, look out for that videos. We're going to do body language stuff and colour language as well, because the clothing that people are wearing, very, very conscious, very, very much, and it says a lot. So watch out for that reviews coming out, and make sure you like, share, subscribe, click on that bell button for notification of the what? Uploads, baby. I appreciate y'all.